Hello there, you are watching The Punter, your best bet for the sporting weekend ahead. And with me this afternoon, the Brains Trust, that is Flash Gordon-Watson and Russ Wiseman from Sporting Bet. Gents, thanks very much for being with us. Of course, International Week, so that gives us a chance to have a look at some leagues we don't normally talk about on this show. Starting off with League One, which Tranmere, going great guns. Ronnie Moore back in charge, I think the third time he's managed Tranmere Rovers. I don't think too many expected Tranmere Flash to be up there, even though it's early doors.
No, I would always say that Tranmere is one of them places that no team ever wants to go. It used to be always on a Friday night.
Yeah.
It used to be howling, and that used to be their home form used to get them stability in the league, and anything other than that was a bonus. Now they've got off to such a flying start. The expectation shifts, but I don't believe that their squad's going to be strong enough to come March or April.
OK, so who should we be looking at?
Oh, I've gone Sheffield United. I just think they'll get better and better. They're a really, really young squad. They've got rid of a few of their stars, and what you do is Danny's going to continue to play them. So then they're going to get better week in, week out. They're going to learn. But the good thing for me is they're not letting goals in. So then they can only go forward. And they're already in the top 5 or 6. So for me, Sheffield United, I'm still very happy to be with them. OK. I'm interested in how the bookies look at leagues like League One, Russ. I mean, if someone rang up in August and said, I want $5 Man United to win the Premier League, not a problem. If they rang up and said $5 Stevenage or $5 Tranmere, how would your erstwhile company respond to that kind of request?
Well, it's a little bit different, Trevor. Let's put it that way. It's a little bit different. Let's be honest about it. I mean, I always find with League One, League Two, we get some real shrewd judges, people who really understand how those leagues operate. Clearly, the limits aren't quite what they are in the Premier League, but that doesn't mean to say you can't have very big bets on these things, and we do take big bets. Match by match, it's obviously quite difficult to assess, but that's where we see most of the action, and obviously we've spoken about this on the Punter many times, that people don't play anti-post as much as they probably used to, but that doesn't mean to say that you know, the actual title betting, promotion betting isn't lively, and Sheffield United always had to be in the mix there, didn't they? They basically tossed away promotion last year, didn't they? Let Wednesday come along the rails. But Tranmere are in there as well. So, you know, you look at the resources, we try and pick out who the teams who are going to get the biggest attendances, who are going to have those financial cards to play when they need to do that. And Sheffield United right up there. Always been at the head of the market or near there. But Tranmere at the moment, revelation, aren't they? Right in there with a big shout.
Yeah, can't take it. I mean, I would imagine that Sheffield United are still favourites. They're 6 points off the pace. I was talking about bets of £5,000, and a man who never bets less than 4 figures, at least £12.80, is the bet butler.
Oh, those days are long, long gone, my friend. Long, long gone. I mean, Sheffield United are the favourites to win this competition, win this league. They're 7-2. They were around about that kind of price at the start. They drifted out to around about 5-1. MK Dons took the favouritism role very briefly about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it's back to the team who have been favourites all the way through. Sheffield United, they're 7-2. I take Flash's point that they're very strong at the back, and that defensive strong, which always in Sheffield United teams a year gone by, they've always been very strong in this defensive role. They're 7-2 to win it, and I think they're going to, that's going to get them through to the playoffs at least. They're going to be a major force. Swindon, this is the team, 11-2, big movers, were 14-1 into 11-2. Paolo Di Canio gets all the headlines, but they're not a bad football team as well, let alone the manager. They're 11-2 second favourites. MK Dons, a little bit of a couple of last few weeks, not so great results. They could have been pushing favouritism, but they'll get better. Tranmere, bang in the middle there, 15-2. And then you go to Stevenage and Notts County, who have played the big guns and have come a cropper. So at the moment, Sheffield United, the team, they've been the team consistently. Swindon the big movers, but don't rule out MK Dons just yet.
Interesting that price on Stevenage. I know a bit about Stevenage. Certainly I've seen their youth set up at close hand, and it's incredibly professional and incredibly proficient. And the way the club has risen over the last 5 or 6 years has been very, very impressive. They haven't lost a game, I don't think, this year. They're 4 points off the pace. Gary Smith, I've not known too much about him. I know he was at Spurs as a kid or whatever, but they've got to have a heart. That price just stuck out at me a little.
And me. I looked at everyone else there, and I know quite a few of the other sides. And Notts County, they've got a good full team, but after that, then they're struggling. Yeah. I think with Stevenage, with their home form alone and their work ethic, I think at 12-1, I don't see them being out the 6.
Interesting each way bet, definitely. How important are leagues like League One and League Two to you, Russ? I mean, obviously the Premier League gets all the attention, doesn't it? But what about these lower leagues?
Well, they're important. I mean, let's put in some perspective here, Trevor. I mean, you know, we've got the Premier League, then we obviously look at Spain, La Liga, Italy, France, and even Germany are still, those European leagues still matter greatly in terms of week-to-week trade. But you know, you still see plenty of money around these divisions. I think our odds compilers, I think it's much more difficult, and the Butler will back me up on this, to be a trader and odds compiler in these divisions than it is in the big ones, where it's almost
everyone knows everything.
Everyone knows everything. Don't they? This is a far more tricky thing. These guys probably get paid half of what the Premier League traders do as well, so very difficult for them. But I take your points about Stevenage as well. I think that's a very good one. The Butler as well will know about. I think he's got some friends who are involved with the youth setup. They're a very well structured club, good organisation. They impressed a lot of people when it came to Spurs to White Hart Lane, the cup last year. They were very impressive indeed. And I'd say there'd be a team who you can probably bank on moving forward. Whether it's enough to get out of this division with the resources of Sheffield United, let's face it, are a giant in that league, aren't they? Really, in terms of how many people support them. That's another matter. But you've got to monitor it carefully. The odds can change very quickly, far more quickly in a league like this than they do in the top flight. Yeah,
and obviously 46 games as well, which is a real marathon, isn't it? Let's move to League Two. I mentioned surprise leaders in League One. The same is true in League Two. Gillingham, Mad Dog, Martin Allen. Going great guns. I would never say that in his company because he doesn't like it. And Port Vale, I think, are a hell of a story as well. In second place currently, with all the financial problems, the club's barely alive. It's certainly not solvent. Fantastic job being done by Mickey Adams, who's in charge there now.
Again, I think this is just a little bit like the Championship, this League Two. I think if you could tell me the winner in February, then I think you've done great, because these teams, they haven't got the squads, they haven't got the resources, so they go in like little spasms of form, and they're not 3 or 4 wins in this league can take you from halfway to the top. The two outside clubs I like are Chesterfield, because again that they've got real good young players coming through, so they're only going to get better, and Southend. They play really good football, and they just need to get maybe a couple of loan signs that they normally do from West Ham and London clubs, and they'll be fine after Christmas as well. And if you look at the managers of them two sides, they've both been there, seen it and done it.
I saw Chesterfield signed Louis Beaumorte, didn't they? In the incredible signing.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Crossley met him in London during the 10 days ago. And he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, not just messing about, kicking me heels." He said, "Well, come down." And then 2 minutes later. But that would be great for, again, the younger boys that they take on loan to work with someone that's played at the top flight. And all of a sudden, the young kids, they get a bit of inspiration from them, but they also see that there's not a big gulf. There's a gulf mentally, but there's not a gulf sort of in talent-wise. And then that just kicks them on and gives them the confidence to go forward.
I mean, most of your traders wouldn't bat an eyelid at the average transfer into League Two. May not even notice, some of them. When they hear someone as high profile as Beaumorte, who's played for Portugal, I think 30 times, played for Arsenal, West Ham, etc. Do they then think, hang on, let's just have a quick check on what Chesterfield's price is outright, right? Who they're playing on Saturday? Should we just adjust the odds? They must go through that process.
Definitely, great call, actually. I mean, when you make a high-profile sign like that, clearly the club is trying to do something. As you mentioned, it may not even affect matters on the pitch, but the whole good feeling around the club, building the confidence of these young players. You do absolutely do that, and I think traders generally and bookies have to react to signings and certainly high-profile ones like that. All the money in this division early on was for Fleetwood. Actually, there's a lot of money for Fleetwood, some quite shrewd money as well from in that sort of Blackpool area for Fleetwood, and they look like a team who'd be looking as though they could go quite well. But I mean, fantastic to see Gillingham up there. Martin Allen, a guy who, frankly, if you do point Martin on, you always get 6 or 8 weeks of fantastic results. I'm not sure exactly what happens after that, but it tends to be a real good kickstart to start the season off with.
You're only a couple of seconds away from something snapping, whether it be Martin Allen's giving someone the bare truth and them not liking it. It can fracture sort of the way that the team's morale has gone. So again, you are like walking a tightrope with that.
All right, well, Fleetwood are currently 3 points behind Gillingham. I've no idea who the favourites are here, but Nigel will tell us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very open market, and Gillingham are just that favourites. I think already into 7 weeks of the season, we've had 5 or 6 different favourites already. Rotherham are favourites, Fleetwood have hit favourites, and Gillingham as well as Bradford at early stages. Good money for those guys. So 3 teams, actually. I was a bit ahead of myself saying the 5. I think the thing is here, you've got Gillingham, as Russ said, you've got Mad Dog Martin Allen there. It's going to implode at some stage. Will he be able to sustain that? A friend of mine was at the game last week against Oxford. They won 1-0, I think it was, and he said they were a very, very hard team to beat. But I just think that may be problems there for the Fleetwood. 5-1, they've got the money. We know they can go and spend some money, go bring in some players, as well as Rotherham. So these two are going to be really amongst the end of it. They're going to be able to buy their way out of this league, unlike these sides here. Port Vale at 10, Bradford at 20, and Cheltenham, very physically strong, we know, 20-1. I tell you one other thing, and we've seen the likes of Louis Beaumorte they go into Chesterfield. We've seen the likes of Edgar Davids being linked with a link to Barnet. What I'm a layer of those teams. I don't think if the bookmakers make a reaction and says we're going to shorten them up, I disagree. They should have lengthened them, because what will happen? They won't fancy the trip up in January up to Cheltenham or up to Port Vale or something like that in a wet, cold Wednesday afternoon. No chance. They'll be off. They'll be gone. They'll be back on their sun lounges in their villas in the Algarve, not worrying about the team. They'll all implode. It'll all go nowhere. So I'm a layer of them sides when they get the big names in. All
right. Well, let's briefly have a look at the Blue Square Bet Conference Premier. Sorry, Ross, mentioned the opponents there. Let's see. Wrexham, Luton, two of the clubs you thought would have been up there early doors, established former league clubs with decent fan bases, and they are there. Newport lead the way, Flash, which has surprised me. I didn't realise until I was checking out today that Justin Edinburgh's in charge there now.
Yeah, and he's done real well, because he took over middle of last season, and he just base stabilised the clubs. He's got some good players in out of football, because they are full-time now, and they score goals home and away. Just now and again, they do disappoint. For me, I wouldn't be interested in Newport. I started with Wrexham at the start of the season, because we go back 8 months to the end of last year. Yeah. Fleetwood obviously won the league, and Wrexham were a country mile clear of the third. There's no Fleetwood in this league this year. So for me, I think there was 7 or 8 to 1 when we tipped them up at the start. I cannot get away from Wrexham. I would imagine the bookies might be smiling at us, because the likes of Hereford, Mansfield, Stockport, all league clubs recently, they're struggling mid-table. Lincoln are in the bottom 4. Just shows you a fall from grace can be pretty swift.
That's correct, Trev, as well. And I think that you look at those big sides there, they haven't really delivered at this point. Actually, Wrexham and Luton have got the best track record in this division already over the last few seasons, haven't they? I mean, Wrexham's a lovely story, actually, because I actually live just a few miles away from the racecourse. And, this was a team that was obviously massively in decline. All of a sudden, in the last 18 months, people have rallied around since they've been in the Blue Square Bet Premier, and they've really rallied around them. The media have, the crowds are up, passion's up on the area. Yeah. I think this is a team that could go all the way at the moment, and great feeling around them in the North Wales region at the moment that Wrexham can do this. But Luton are a team, they're kind of Blue Square Bet Premier stalwarts, aren't they, really, Flash? They really kind of know that division well. Whether or not they can pick it up enough, I see on Twitter a few people criticising the Hatters regularly, but they'd be the two teams really with a track record. Yeah. It's interesting to see them up there already. They find a way to foul Luton, even when you think there's no chance of that. Yeah, I can come in. It's only 20 years since Mickey Thomas's goal beat Arsenal in the FA Cup for Wrexham. Yeah. That was a painful day for me. Nigel, Wrexham favourites, I guess, are they? Yeah, I mean, Luton and Wrexham are there as favourites, fine for favourites. And different bookmakers have different prices and different favourites. But Luton and Wrexham, Luton here 11 to 4, Wrexham at 3 to 1. It's whether you want to go with the traditional sides, the teams that have got the biggest fan base and the more the feel, the more the perception that they're a bigger side and shouldn't be in this division, which is these two. Or look for somebody else. If you can look for someone else, Newport County 11 to 2, Forest Green around about 8 to 1. I don't fancy Forest Green, got lots and lots of money. But there's a team at Dartford are doing it tremendously well in this division. They're around about a 25 to 1 shot. I think if you're looking at this league, you've got to go each way. I think these two sides are taking up too much of the market. So you've got to look each way value. Grimsby at 10, who got beat by Dartford last week. Dartford at 25 to 1. Macclesfield at 20. Macclesfield on a bit of a comeback there. They need to get back in the Football League for financial reasons. And I'm going to look for an each way option. I'm going to go for Macclesfield at 20 or a big price. I don't think these fashionable sides are any value at the prices being quoted at the moment. No, interesting. OK. Well, what we're going to do when we come back is actually look at some specific fixtures in League One, in League Two and in the conference. We don't often get the chance to do this because obviously the Premier League dominates, but no Premier League this weekend. So we'll look at all those markets when we come back. You're watching The Punter, and this weekend we're concentrating on some of the lower leagues we don't often get the chance to talk about. League One, first of all, gents. Sheffield United, we mentioned them as still a lot of people's picks to win the league. They're at home to Oldham, who are in the lower reaches, so one would assume fairly straightforward home win play. Yeah, I've flagged it up as being probably one of the naps of the weekend in League One. Sheffield United, they don't let goals in. Oldham let you play. And that's what these young boys at Sheffield United will enjoy. Is that because of Paul Dickov's his philosophy is that he wants to play. He wants to encourage his teams to play. But when I've seen them, Oldham, they take too many chances. They'll overplay and they'll play in the wrong areas. And a home team like Sheffield United, there's a bit of a rivalry, just only across the Pennines. So for me, Sheffield United at home, I think they'll keep a clean sheet and win. Interesting. I'm quite curious, Russ, as to how much research you think the average punters do if they want to play this game either as a single or include it in ACCAs. I mean, for instance, the United keeper, Mark Howard's out for 12 weeks, got thigh injury. May not be a massive influence on whether you want to have a bet or not. But I would suspect most people, if they're
including him in ACCAs, they kind of just look at the table, they think, yeah, 3rd versus 16th, 1, and they stick it alongside maybe some of the international games.
I think you can put punters in 2 categories here, Trev. You've got those guys who will look deep into the team news, as you mentioned there about United keeper, as Flash has mentioned about the defensive strength of Sheffield United, and you'll have people who dig deep. You'll have plenty of people, though, who will just put the 1 on the tick by Sheffield United as a powerhouse team in a division that they should get out of. Clearly the favourites to win the league. Oldham struggling, as you mentioned there, Paul Dickoff, his philosophy will be to play football. It's probably not the best one to go to Bramall Lane with. Maybe if they were to play a more defensive game, it would be interesting for them. But I do believe that that most punters will just be putting that in their 3-fold, 4-folds, definitely, and because it looks as it's just got that right shape to it, hasn't it? Really.
Yeah, and going on what Russ says, there's a fixture in this league this weekend. It's Swindon at home to Coventry. Then I think that anybody who puts a 1 next to Swindon against Coventry, who scored 4 in midweek, they're under new management, they're coming off their first win last week, they will come a cropper.
Okay. Just thinking, Nigel, about this game. I mean, Sheffield United are no gimmies at home. They've drawn 3 of their 5 league games so far, and Oldham have won their last 2 in the league. So maybe they could be a lay, but you're going to tell me different, maybe.
No, I'm not. I think you're right. I think Flash has not been exempt. You know, he's not breaking anything that we don't know. 8-13 Sheffield United is probably most people's selection of a good thing. But when you delve into the price and look at it, I'm not so sure if it is. I think Sheffield United draw too many goals. Games they've drawn 3 out of their 5 at home. You've let your odds-on punters down already. If you're backing a team odds-on, you need them to win more than they draw. And at the moment, they're drawing more than they win. I think Oldham, away from home, have not been so bad. I mean, you say they've won the last 2. They won this fixture, in fact, 3-2 last season. And every time they're on the television, Paul Dickoff's side always raise the game. I think they played twice on TV, and they've won them both in the last sort of 2 seasons, last season. The thing is also as well for me here is I fancy a few goals. I think Oldham only like to play one way. I think Sheffield United, without their goalkeeper they are, I think 8-13 is a very brave bet. I don't, you know, we're not. There's no value in the price. It's the price because they're the fashionable side and they're 3rd in the league and they're unbeaten at home. Oldham at 9-2. Dickoff is linked this morning and yesterday with a move possibly to Blackburn, being backed into around about 12-1 to get that job from that 41-51 no-hoper. So he's going to be keen to show that he can deliver on the big stage. 8-13, I think it's better bets than that.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I'm with you, Nigel, on that, so a bit of difference here with the panel. Let's move on to Chesterfield versus Dagenham and Redbridge. Now, Chesterfield in fact, they've got exactly the same home record, drawn 3-1-2. So, again, they will be favourites against Dagenham and Redbridge, who've had a sort of very average time under John Still, but he's a wily old character. They've not got a lot of money to invest either. One of those teams that occasionally surprises you. Whether they'll do it this weekend, another matter.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Chesterfield are on the up, to be honest. I think they've lost 2 in 10. They've scored goals. They've kept clean sheets. They went to Northampton, who were flying under Adi Boothroyd, and they kept a clean sheet there. So that's a good thing because they've always been able to score goals, but they've always been involved in 4-2s, 4-3s, 3-2s. Well, now they only need 1 or 2 goals to win a game. Dagenham Redbridge, for me, I think they're still going to be down the bottom with the likes of your Barnetts and that come the end of the season. So this, for me, Chesterfield. And if Tommy has got everyone going like he has, I mean, they played really well midweek and they got beat 1-0 at Donny in Johnson's Paint, whatever it is, and by all accounts, they outplayed Donny. So for me, Chesterfield at home.
When I was a kid, Russell, I know it was a long time ago, you never used to see any action from in what was in those days Division 3 and Division 4 because you got your match of the day, your big match, your home internationals, and that was about it. But in the last, say, 20 years, when we had, I think ITV started it with their Football League Extra show, now you have the Football League show on the BBC, Sky do shows as well. So you can pretty much see every goal from every game, and in fact in the conference as well. It's probably helped you in the sense that it's kind of raised the profile of it, but also it's kind of like a form guide for all the punters to see as well.
Yeah, well, you know, I go back to what I said at the top of the show, Tom. We get lots of people now just focus on these 2 divisions. Right. I mean, you know, if you can dig it a little bit deeper and find out a bit about Chesterfield, Tommy Wright's team, find out what kind of team they are, you really are giving yourself a really good opportunity to make some excellent money. And I mean, yeah, you look at these kind of games where they don't look particularly fashionable. You can be very quickly caught out as a bookmaker in these kind of situations. A little bit of team news here. You know, the punter will probably highlight it. You know, shows like this. A little bit of team news can make a big difference. Tactical awareness, records can make a big big difference. I mean, you look at this here, Chesterfield obviously very strong at home. Haven't been winning all their games at home though, so maybe that gives the Daggers some sort of chance. For me, though, I mean, you look at the way that they're struggling. When someone like Flash tells you they're going to be down there almost fighting for survival, you know, they'll take anything from this kind of game.
Let me just put one thing to you, because I'm not sure if this could happen now, but you'd be the man to tell me. It was about probably 12, 15 years ago. I was commentating on a game at Swansea, and in doing my research for the game, they were at home to a team that were in the bottom 5 or 6. They were kind of mid-table. In doing my research, Swansea had tried to get the game called off because there was a flu epidemic basically within the club. The league had said, no, you haven't got enough people, you have to play it. And I knew they would be a really, really weak team. And yet the odds were, you could go into a bookies or ring them up and you'd get the price that they'd probably done when they printed the coupons on the Wednesday or whenever it was. And Swansea were like 2s on, and really it should have been 6-4 against at best. Yeah. Could that happen now, or would the bookies react to it?
It's just too quick the reaction now, Trevor. We've got a system now in place where 2 or 3 bets or any kind of information will pretty much set off the red alert will go off everywhere. Certainly from the shop perspective, the coupon prices are just subject to availability. Yeah. I mean, they will tell people immediately that the coupon price doesn't exist, but it's far more sophisticated. Lovely days though, Trevor. Where coups were in place. The butler will know about it as well. There was a time when people like myself and the butler used to run around shops left, right and centre trying to get on. You were probably part of that gang as well, but great fun.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, we're too sophisticated these days.
Fixed odds.
We can still make money though. We can still make money out of
fixed
things like
odds with a capital F.
All our fun. Right, let's go to Butler then. Chesterfield, are they a similar price to Sheffield United or a bit bigger?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, 8 to 13, we spoke about Sheffield United. I think 10 to 11. I think they're a better bet. I think they're a tremendous bet at 10 to 11. Chesterfield are unbeaten at home. The Dagenham haven't won away. The Chesterfield are on the up. New manager, bringing in Luis Boa-Morte. I think it might take a time for that bubble to burst, but certainly the crowd will want to see a talent like that. I think 10 to 11 is a cracking bet. I think this is a much, much better betting prospect than the 8 to 13 Sheffield United. 11 to 4 Dagenham Redbridge. 13 to 5 the draw. Nowadays, though, you can't run around the shops. The old knees and legs won't take it anymore, Russ. But one of my greatest ones was Russian and Diamonds against Weymouth, 9-0. That was a great... I mean, the 14, 15-year-old kids get the news on Tuesday. The thing is now, Twitter, people like that get to know things much more than what you do. But Chesterfield, 10 to 11, that's got to be a bet. Team unbeaten at home against a team who haven't won away. Compare that to the 8 to 13 Sheffield United. I know which one I'll be running around the shops for this weekend. Yeah,
almost even money then if you fancy Chesterfield. Mansfield versus Forest Green we're going to look at in the Blue Square Premier. Now, you know a team's in trouble when their skippers, Adam Murray, the skipper of Mansfield, is their assistant boss as well, actually, and he's saying some of the abuse they're getting from their own fans, he says it's personal, it's unacceptable. They haven't won in 4. They're mid-table. They're expected to be challenging for promotion back to the league. All's not well at Mansfield.
We'll win games in. I mean, what you want to do? You're happy when they're cheering your name. You've got to be taking it when you're not doing your job. If you don't win in 4, these are one of the top 3 favourites to win the league at the start. So if you they're lucky to even have a job, especially if they've put money in there in the last 3 or 4 years, and they have failed to go up and stay up. So for me, that they get everything, and I think that Forest Green, that they do not worry whether they're at home or away. They play the same way. They score goals, and for me, I think that they might just pile on the woes for Mansfield.
I would imagine Forest Green will be favourites even on the road, will they, Nigel?
Only slight favourites, not as strong as you would expect. I mean, actually, no. Some bookmakers haven't favourites, but we've got here Mansfield 6 to 4. So if you look around, there's different opinion on this game. I personally disagree with Flash. I think Mansfield will win the game, despite the problems they have. They're a team that are really going below their capabilities, whereas Forest Green are well above their capabilities. And if you look at the stats book, the history books, Mansfield have never ever lost to Forest Green. They've won every single game in the 3 seasons or 4 seasons that they've played in this level. So I think Mansfield at 6 to 4 need to get back on the road, and I think that could be a bet. But shop around your prices, because you can get bigger than this if you look around.
All right, interesting then. Mixed opinions on that game in the Premier. Go into your bookies, get the coupons, make your own mind up and get your money on for the weekend. We're back in just a moment. You are watching The Punter, and you're very welcome this sporting weekend. Time to turn the focus on Formula One, and the whole thing's turned around, chaps, hasn't it? Several weeks ago, Alonso was way clear. Now, the gap between Alonso and Vettel is just 4 points, and all the momentum flashes with Vettel, and I've got to say with you, because you've tipped the last 2 winners.
Yeah, we've been very lucky. I mean, Red Bull obviously had their upgrades, so they arrived in the Far East at the right times, and they're really pleased in their straight line speed. And again, I'm going to go against Red Bull this weekend, and I'm going to go back to Lewis Hamilton of McLaren, because I don't think that they're going to have as much dominance. I mean, last week it was all Red Bull. The week before it was all Red Bull. This week I think that the price is going to be back for Hamilton. So Hamilton this week for me.
Interesting. I can't be with Hamilton, and I'll tell you why. Because he knows he's leaving. I'm not saying he's not trying, of course he is, but somehow there's a psychological thing, like with a footballer who knows that he's got his last few games and a transfer's been done. Just something psychological, and I don't think he's happy with the car either.
Well, I mean, Lewis Hamilton leaving, going to Mercedes, more worried about what his Twitter followers are than his car. I mean, it's not been a great time for him, but I think a lot of people, I mean, the key to the Grand Prix and betting on the Grand Prix was that month break. What happened in that month break? Engineering difficulties, adjustments, and it's very apparent now that that Red Bull have come back strong. And it's very clear there's been some good money for Vettel before the last Grand Prix was Singapore and then Japan, looking in really good shape. Now,
they all listen to Flash.
Yeah, well, listen, maybe Flash is more important than the engineers these days. But that's interesting. But I mean, it's been a terrific season in terms of the openness. But now we're coming down to those final few races. It's about quality. It's about how you can deliver on the big stage. And at the moment, Vettel, he's got a great track record. This thing's flipped around. We had a really hot odds-on favourite who some people in the industry, I know Butler and also Flash, thought might be a weak odds-on favourite in Alonso. Looking difficult for him now to win this thing. It's fascinating end to the season. Still got 6 cars I think who can win this weekend, but you know, it's difficult at the moment to oppose Vettel, given the momentum that team seems to have.
Got to give you credit, Butler. I mean, you were advising this to lay Alonso when he was like 1-3, then 8-15, and now probably he's not even the favourite anymore to win outright.
There's a lot of life left yet. Let's calm down a little bit here. I think that the fact of the matter is what we did on the Punter review on the show. We actually told you to back Alonso to win the driver championship at 40-1. So you're in a good position anyway. And then we told you when he hit the 1-3, that kind of price, to get out. This is the prices to win the Grand Prix though. Vettel is the favourite 11-8. The man in form, the Red Bull, as the boys are saying, they're absolutely flying. But would you back him 11-8? Oh, it's a little bit too short for me. I think the momentum is with him, but the price certainly isn't. Lewis Hamilton, Flash's tip, a 4-1 shot. Again, Trevor giving a negative, very wisely so. He's going on to another team, Mercedes, next season. Is he really up for it? This is Alonso, 13-2, completely not had any luck in racing, not really had much luck in racing at all, but hasn't really been at the races the last few weeks. 13-2, the Red Bull's certainly a lot stronger car than that. But Mark Webber, 11-1 each way. How can he be 11-1 when Vettel's 11-8? So for me, I've got to look for the each way value. Always looking for the each way value. And Mark Webber, 11-1. Kimi Räikkönen, third in the strong truck. Hasn't won a race yet, but 25-1 to win. So here, but it's all about Mark Webber each way for me, and a very tasty 11-1.
Well, I want to talk to you about another bet in this market, or this race at least. Butler, and that is the dual forecast, which for those of you who aren't horse race aficionados, it means you predict 2 drivers to come first and second in either order. And I've got a big pal who's a mega petrol head telling me that Alonso, because he reckons it's the kind of circuit in Korea that will work for the Ferrari, that Alonso, along with Vettel, on the dual forecast is a very decent bet. It's 9-1, I think.
Well, it's a 9-1 shot. I mean, the thing is, I love when people say it's a circuit. Well, they're going to go up all this money. This is straights with corners. I mean, it's the same circuit. Anyway, that's enough. I'm joking. It's like people saying different footballs in World Cups. Oh, the different footballs. It's square. You know, it's a different football. Anyway, Vettel Hamilton is the favourite at 130 here. That has been the sort of form line in the last few weeks. This is the old rival we expected to come back. That looks again a little bit short. I think Vettel Webber 4-1. They've been so dominant. Your tip today is not on the caption at 9-1. Alonso Vettel a 6-1 shot, with Vettel Button at 7. It's all about Vettel. If you're going to go for some tasty prices, you look further down the list. But Raikkonen not in these much. But Alonso Vettel 6-1 here, the top 2 at the market. I think as well with Grand Prix racing is, and I've always had a theory for years and years and years and years, the interest and the money gets revenue. They don't want this event over before the last race of the season. The amount of times it goes to the wire, all the way down. And I wouldn't be surprised to see these two going first and second until the last race, because they know they can get the big advertising money in and have it go in. It's very rare that this is done deal with 3 or 4 races to go. And that was one of the theories why I was thinking about Alonso before, and that's why I'm going to go for this two, having a little bit of a rivalry with it all set for the last race of the season.
You're a cynical man, Butler. Let's just have a chat about the outrights, because is it now a 2-driver scenario? Is it just Alonso and Vettel, or can the likes of Raikkonen and Hamilton get back into it? What do we think?
Well, I mean, I look at the overall title now as being a 2-runner race. I mean, the wonderful thing about the point structure in Grand Prix is that you can get yourself back into it very quickly. But races running out now, we're kind of getting to the end of the season.
5 left.
5 left.
Yeah.
It's not that many. If you want to be a Hamilton backer for potentially he's going to have to start winning quickly.
Wait next year and back him a Mercedes.
That's right. But I mean, I think we're down to 2 guys now, aren't we, really? But I mean, Bob makes an interesting point. It does tend to go to the wide, doesn't it? And this wide open of seasons, who's to say that somebody just doesn't find the right kind of conditions, the right kind of engineering skills to get themselves up there? But I like to be with Vettel just because he is a pure winner, this guy, isn't he? And if you look at the record over the last couple of years, he's very, very consistent. You know, he's machine-like, isn't he? He is the new Schumacher, no doubt about that, and he's doing it in the best possible way. I wouldn't want to be against him now that the team have clearly kind of alleviated any problems they had.
Yeah, I mean, and Butler kind of has a point in terms of the competitiveness of it. I mean, it makes it much more interesting, not just for bettors, but also just for the general public, you know, to watch it when it's close rather than being a done deal 3 months from the end of the season.
Yeah, but what we've got to remember is the constructors, they get so much money and so much more budget for next year for the higher and the better they do in each race. I like Hamilton here to split them, and also you've got to remember that Alonso's done nothing wrong in his last 2 races and failed to finish on either of them because of other things that have gone on. It's precarious, and again I think in Korea that something dodgy will go on, and not dodgy as in as in a crash or something will happen outside your own remit. And I think that Hamilton at 4-1, give it 2 weeks ago, he'd be 6-4.
Yeah, and is the constructors a done deal?
Oh yeah, that was Red Bull all the way.
They're, I think, 41 points clear.
I think that's pretty much done now, Trev. Again, if they have a cataclysmic couple of races, maybe it'll open the door. But at the moment, they look fairly consistent. And even with the Butler saying the likes of Mark Webber, I mean, you know, he may be 11-1 to win this race, but he's still in a great car. Who's to say that he can't make a statement here in these last few races? It's difficult to imagine they won't.
If he sort of has no more issues with Grosjean, which he has been plagued by.
Exactly. Last week he was 16-1 prior to qualifying, and then on the grid they had a lockout 1-2, and he was like 9-2. So again, you can earn a lot of money before the race even starts if you get on the right man in qualifying.
That is the most frustrating thing about Grand Prix betting, isn't it? Last week, if you back Webber and you've done your money after 10 seconds.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. But it's the nature of Grand Prix, isn't it? But it's still one of the great moments, isn't it? And any in-play better, any punter at all, the first corner, the first lap of a Grand Prix, that is worth watching, isn't it? Because there's no question about it.
Drama guaranteed, absolutely.
Certainty.
Another sport where drama is guaranteed is American football. Now, Flash, I know you're a big fan of the old gridiron. 2 teams undefeated so far, the Houston Texans and the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
What have we learned from the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season?
The teams are actually going for touchdowns more. I mean, there's only a few sides that have an emphasis on defence. They're happy to get involved in shootouts because if the ball can get picked. I mean, I've seen more takeaways in the first sort of 5-6 games of this season than I did nearly the whole of last year. Chicago Bears the other night, they took 6 picks off their opponents. The week before, New England came back and scored 30-odd points in the last quarter alone, and it all from defence. So for me, the points are really being put up on the board.
I'm interested, Russ, in how busy it is for you guys on a Sunday night. The games are live on Sky. We know that. Is it decent turnover on American football?
Superb, Trev. Absolutely superb. In-play betting on American football, massive. I mean, people do like to watch the games dip in and out. Handicaps constantly changing, points constantly changing. Now we've got this nightmare problem with the officials sorted out. We finally got the game back in order. I mean, the wonderful thing about the NFL, and I know we've spoken about this on the Punter for a couple of years now. I mean, this is a fascinating sport because it is so wide open. You can win any game. Anybody on any given Sunday can win any game, and that really does make it terrific. We saw Tennessee beat Pittsburgh just the other day. I mean, that's a fabulous win. We've got teams here who supposedly we're going to have good seasons, like the Jets falling apart, Pittsburgh struggling, Green Bay struggling. So it's really wide open, gives everyone a great chance.
So that turn up, is that akin to like what, Wigan beating United, that kind of thing?
I don't think it's that big because nobody really is that big a favourite. But I mean, you do have glamour teams. I mean, Green Bay were heavily touted before the season. Aaron Rodgers has come out, their quarterback, the MVP, the best player supposedly in the league. He's admitting he's not delivering. You know, if you're even just 5% off your game in the NFL, you lose. It's not 5% off and win comfortably. You just cannot afford to be that way. Every game offers a great punting opportunity, and every game gives us a variety of different ways to play as well. Brilliant for action. I think in play between 6 and 9 every Sunday, Sporting Bet certainly, and probably all the bookmakers. Terrific action.
All right, well, let's have a look at the market then for the Super Bowl outright. The New York Giants are the defending champions, and Nigel can tell us where they and some of the other favoured teams feature.
Yeah, I'm like Flash. I've seen more takeaways in the last 6 months, but Chinese, a bit of pizza, that kind of stuff. Anyway, going back to the Super Bowl. I mean, it is the most wide open event. We talk about League One, we talk about their championship. This market is there for the taking. Anyone can win it, as Russ says. I think the thing is, when you have the bet on this market, is there's always a team that go through and they're unbeaten and get to the playoffs. Everyone says, oh, they're the team to beat. They never usually win the Super Bowl. At that moment in time, Houston Texans are the favourites at 9-2. I think there might be 3 or 4 other teams that will do that before Christmas, become favourites in this heat. San Francisco 49ers, 11-2. The team from the 80s and the 90s, they were the boys to beat. They were favourites every time. They could be back to the old days, 11-2. New England Patriots, good money for them pre-season, 7-1 into 11-2. Atlanta Falcons, a 15-2 shot. But my strategy for the Super Bowl is always lay the team that the fancy side. When they get in unbeaten, everyone says they're going to lose. And then when you get to the final, whoever's the favourite in the Super Bowl itself, just lay them. They don't win. But anyway, Houston Texans are the favourites now, 9-2 at the moment. The question is for punters, can this unfashionable side, as far as what the British public expected, can they go all the distance and win? That's the question you've got to ask yourself.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco, I think a lot of people's kind of, if you're a neutral, you kind of sort of have a soft spot for them. Defensively, they've been great, Flash, but can they get enough points on them? That's the problem.
Well, they are. They're suffocating teams. And they were excellent last year, and a lot of people tipped them to go all the way last year, and they just fell short. And then this year, they seem to have added another couple of dimensions. They'll run teams, they hit them hard, they soften them up, and then they'll have to put players up at the line of scrimmage, and then they just throw it over their head. I mean, they've got everything. I think that they will be a Super Bowl finalist on their side of the conference.
All right. I mean, if you were a punter, say, Russ, who wasn't particularly informed on American football, you stick the telly on Sunday night. I mean, where do you kind of glean the information from to have a bet? I mean, other than watching this show, obviously, but where else? Online or what?
I mean, it is a sport based on information, Trevor. If you go onto ESPN or NFL.com, any of these websites, there's too much information, literally. I mean, every single play is dissected, every single play. It's a game based on coaching, let's be honest about it. The best coaches tend to be the teams that are successful, and Harbaugh for San Francisco has been nothing short of a revelation this year.
What sort of bets do you have? Are you betting on the winners or points or
No, just wins.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they've got. You can have. There's quite a few gaps in the market that you can see where teams, especially at the moment and over recent years, they might go, say, New England Patriots versus Baltimore, and it'll be, it's going to be low-scoring tie, so it might be New England -3. But at the moment, teams are not stopping because it's mid-season. They're trying out all the things they're going to need later on down the line. As the season gets longer, what they'll do is they'll go up maybe 5 or 6, 7 points, and then they'll try and suffocate the game and only just trip over the line. Whereas at the moment, it's a free-for-all when it comes to points. And as Russ said a minute ago, the smallest crack in any sort of secondary or line of scrimmage is magnified, and teams prey on it.
I don't know whether you've had a chance to look at this weekend's matches and whether you fancy anything in particular.
I'll tell you, I fancy watching as a complete neutral the New York Giants versus the 49ers, because we got last year's winners against potentially this year's winners.
Who would be favourites in that game?
I would say 49ers probably 2-5 without a spread. So again, going to the 49ers, I think if anyone can do it, the Giants can, because you don't know what you're going to get from one week to the next. Young Manning. He throws deep balls, and then that means that they've got to defend deeper. But I would say the 49ers have got to win that game.
Any favourite bets? Any kind of markets?
I mean, I just think we should focus on this, because look at NFL. There's 16 games this season, eight home games you get, and I mean every game's like a cup final for every team. So you really it's such wonderful atmosphere if you ever get the chance to go to any games. Houston have got a wonderful schedule, very easy schedule. That's why they're at the top of the market now. San Francisco have had some very difficult games, and that's why they're the head of the market in the different conference. They're the two teams I'd be focusing on at the moment. But I wouldn't rule out a team like Green Bay. They've got a mercurial quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. They've had their problems, but I mean, Green Bay, fantastically storied franchise. I wouldn't rule them out yet. And don't forget the trophy named after their old famous coach, Vince Lombardi.
Okay, as well. Indeed. It'll be a great Sunday night as ever, no doubt, in the NFL. And from American football, back to our own football. Tuesday internationals in just a moment. Don't go away. You're watching The Punter, your best guide to the sporting weekend. And with the World Cup qualifying now well underway, we're going to look at some of Tuesday's internationals, kicking off with England's trip to Poland, which no doubt will be a lot harder than their match against San Marino at the weekend. Poland showed us in the Euros, Flash, that they're no mugs, but England will be favourites and probably should be favourites, but it's the kind of game where they still could slip up if they're not careful.
Yeah, you just can't give them any encouragement. I mean, they've got a couple of players that won't be playing who are their talisman, but I think that England now, after obviously dropping the point against Ukraine, they can't obviously do that anymore. They've got to go out and stamp their authority, and I think there's a lot of confidence behind the England side now. I think the youth boys are coming through. They're starting to make it their positions their own. They're keeping good or better players effectively out of the team. So I think England will probably win 2-0 or 2-1.
Russ?
Love going against Flash. I'm going to go against him on this occasion. The man knows what he's talking about, but on this one I've got to be against him. I mean, I look at this game, Trev, and I mean, there's always a couple of difficult games in qualifying for every team.
Yeah.
Germany, Spain, Holland, whoever. This is one of those difficult games. We've seen some of the Polish players, some of the very good Polish players here on Sports Tonight TV on Ekstraklasa. They've got plenty of ability. This will be a very difficult game for England. And let's not forget, this is an England team who generally tend to let people down in bigger games. They are quite an efficient outfit, but it's never pretty to watch. It's never easy. The butler will give us the prices now, probably around about an even money shot. I mean, as a bookmaker, you've got to take them on away from home in this kind of game. Happy to pay out, Trevor, on this one.
No, I'm sure. Now, Butler, I know you hate short-priced away, so I guess you're not too hot on England, are you?
No, I listen to Flash, and anything about Yeovil against Scunthorpe, anything about Chesterfield again, and he knows all the managers, all the players, and all that. Flash wears his Southampton sunglasses when he comes in on the tomorrow, and he goes to bed in his Euro 96 pyjamas when it comes to England. I tell you what, I think England are a big lay. I really do. I'm an Englishman. I want them to win. I really, really want us to win. I want us to go to the World Cup. But you know what? This squad of players is depth of players. I'm not quite sure whether we can do it. I think you've got the massive ask here, even money. It's a price is going to attract punters, it's going to get them in. But England's so negative away from home. I think it's a tough place to go. And Poland at 11-5, it's going to be like their World Cup final. This is going to be tough for England. The draw 11-5, but at even money, I certainly wouldn't be rushing down that. I think there's better bets out there the weekend, in the midweek as well in the Championship. But I've got a feeling that it's going to be a very, very, very bad week, midweek for all the British sides. I don't think any of them were going to win.
Well, we'll come to that in a minute. I mean, I think I kind of might lay England for a small amount and not care either way, because you either win money or England are one step closer to Rio. Croatia versus Wales, talking of tough places to go. It's been a very ropey start for Chris Coleman, hasn't it? And this will be tough. Croatia are a very solid side at home.
Yeah, I mean, the way you've seen Wales at the moment, I mean, them and Scotland, they're a pick. So I would say that Croatia at home, I mean, they're going to be massively odds on, you would have thought, and you're better off trying to go for giving Wales a head start. Yes, they've got like the odd player in Gareth Bale that can do something out of the ordinary, especially away from home. They won't commit many players, so they're going to invite them in. They could be played in the Wales half for like 85-90% of the game. So sooner or later, Croatia will find a way through. We know handicap betting is really popular to us when it's a total mismatch, like England-San Marino at the weekend. When it's sort of Croatia-Wales, which is supposed to be one-sided, but not obviously as much as England-San Marino, is handicap betting favoured by punters?
It will play a part in it, Trevor. Yeah. Probably the 1.5 goal market is a big global market, actually. All firms all over the world, all betting institutions usually play that one. I think the Asian line on this will probably be around that as well. I mean, we have to look at this. We're talking about it from a Welsh perspective, and obviously the terrible demise Gary Speed, Chris Coleman having trouble at the moment. This is a team in disarray. Let's look at it from the Croatian perspective. They're just counting this as 3 points. Yeah. I mean, they're in this brutal group with Belgium and Serbia. I mean, they really have got qualification on their minds here, automatic qualification. They're looking at this as anything else other than 3 points is a disaster for them. So, you know, a powerful team. Obviously, Slaven Bilic is gone now. It's Igor Stimac at the helm. Yeah, you just, you know, we can't really talk about anything else here than a Croatian win. Powerful outfits, powerful European outfit, a match for anyone on the day. Be amazed to see Wales come away with anything. I'm sure the odds will explain to us how big a price they are.
They're a massive price, aren't they, Nigel, I would imagine, but I just can't have them.
No, I don't think anybody can. I think you've got to, if you like your odds on, I think you can't. If you could, I think it's one of the best bets you can see all week. The 4-11. It might not be enticing to you. It might not be something that gets you really excited having £11 to win 4. But £4 is £4. You know, it's close. You're going to win. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if you look at their form line against the Serbians, they've got absolutely hammered. Croatia at home are a much better side than them. Obviously, England went and done there, but England are nowhere near a lot better than Wales. I always look at these matches and compare them to Premier League games. Now, a 4-11 shot in the Premier League would be a Manchester United at home to someone like a Sunderland. And the gap between these two sides is a lot bigger than Manchester United at home to Sunderland. Let me tell you that. This is a huge, huge goal. And if you look at 4-11 and you get all the markets involving Croatia half-time, Croatia full-time, all those kind of things, you've got to be Croatia all the way. If it doesn't entice you that one, surely that will. Croatia will win. And how competitive this group is, with only one going through, they have to win. So I think 4-11 is an absolute banker.
Yeah, everything I've just said about Croatia, Wales, I'm going to say about Belgium, Scotland, because the same applies, doesn't it, Flash?
Yeah, I've wrote on my notes. I've wrote Croatia to win by 2 clear goals, Belgium to win by 2 clear goals. I think Wales and Scotland, they are both in the same sort of part of the draw. That they're same quality, same problems. Everything, they're mirror images, really.
Yeah.
So I think Belgium at home, I think Belgium are absolutely outstanding. Forget that they've got like 15 players playing in the Premiership. They have got proper individuals who can turn a game.
Similar prices on this, Nigel?
Yeah, very similar kind of prices, but 4-9 now, Belgium. I don't disagree with that. I think the task for Croatia is a lot easier than this one, because the reason I think is Scotland will probably play no forwards. They'll play 6 packet, try to defend, come back with 0-0. And you know what? Stephen Fletcher back in the side, he always got a chance of nicking a goal. Now Belgium, collectively, okay, individual, superb, and they're not a team yet. And I think 4-9, I think this is an absolute banker under 2.5 goals. I think under 2.5 goals is the best way to play this market. But I wouldn't be rushing about 4-9 Belgium. If any team could go there and frustrate them and maybe get a 0-0, it will be Scotland. You know what you're going to expect. I think the 4-11 about Croatia is a lot better value than the 4-9 Belgium.
Yeah, Craig Levine's famous 6-4-0 formation may come into play. Portugal, Northern Ireland, Russ, I mean, there's just no way. I mean, sometimes you try and see a way for the British sides, but I just can't. It's
a fascinating game, this, because unfortunately for Northern Ireland, we always speak about clean sheet with Northern Ireland, because goals are just so. I mean, if Scotland are defensive, what does that make Northern? What's 5 times more defensive than defensive? That's what Northern Ireland are. But Portugal themselves don't score a lot of goals. I mean, you think with all these fabulous offensive players, generally silky, attractive football, they're quite a negative international side. So the market for me here, I'm sure the Butler will probably agree with me, is potentially to be under 2.5 again, or Portugal to win to a clean sheet. That's the one we've tipped up on here a few times before, and it always seems to cop as well. Yeah, I mean, I think Paolo Bento's tried to become more positive, but the problem he's got, Flash, is, OK, he's got Ronaldo, but it hasn't got a top-class striker, has he? Goal scorer. No, and that's the problem you always have. They have plenty of possession. It's almost as if they take it around the keeper and they like to stop it on the line. They don't quite follow through. So, but I've still got maybe Portugal winning this 3-0. So, again, over 2.5 and definitely giving +2 to Ireland. Portugal at a short price, Nigel. Can you see goals in this game, then, or not?
I thought I probably can, and it's obviously, I think, agree with Russ. I think Portugal will win to 0. I think it's your best bet to play win to 0. But if you want to go back and 1-9 Portugal, it's a little bit too short for me. They will win 12-1 Northern Ireland and 13 to do the draw. But definitely back Portugal to win to 0.
All right, thanks, Nigel. Gents, just briefly, best bets for the weekend. Any sport, any bet, any market? I will go for. You're torn. Yeah, torn. I am torn because I like Hamilton at 4-1, and I also like Chesterfield at 10-11. So stick him in a double. Exactly. There you go. But I just put the pair together. Plays about 9-1 that double, I think.
Well, sticking to the theme we've had on the show today, not looking too wide other sports, Trev. I think this Vettel guy is going to win the Grand Prix. I think he's going to kick on and win the title as well. I think they seem to have solved any problems they had earlier in the season. Red Bull now they're back to that powerful outfit that they were before. If you look how dominant he was just in Japan recently, can we really oppose him this time? I'm with him. All right. Russ is with Vettel, Hamilton for Flash. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.